Money can be your best friend or your worst enemy, and you get to choose.
Abundance is an inside job, and your intuition is the key to unlocking it all. Hello and welcome. I'm Rebecca Davison, founder of the Intuitive Life Academy, the leading place to develop your intuitive and psychic gifts. As an ascension guide and light leader, I'm committed to bringing you all the latest tools, developments, and the neuroscience available when it comes to the art of effortless manifestation. This show is for light workers and for those who identify that your intuition is your greatest guide to bring you happiness, expansion, and money. With my corporate banking background, you'll receive practical advice along with all the energetic tools that you can apply in your life today. So if this resonates with you, let's jump into the world of abundance and learn what it takes to experience true freedom. Hi folks, it's Rebecca here, and I'm so excited today to be bringing you the fabulous Jessica Giles. Jess is a highly regarded and sought after author, speaker, and money mastery mentor. As a qualified accountant, she very quickly identified that money management and lodging tax returns was only one very small piece of the puzzle. So financial empowerment, education, and confidence is something that is widely lacking, and this is where Jess's unique skill set and zone of genius come into powerful play. As a certified money mastery coach, Jess powerfully supports her clients across all areas of money, including money mindset, manifestation, law of attraction, money management, and wealth creation. So all areas are addressed and nurtured together to create an unstoppable financial uprising. Jess's philosophy is that if it's all about the money and simultaneously has nothing to do with the money, it's all about the freedom and choice that money creates for you, but also very much about the person that you become and the process of healing your relationship with money. Jess often reflects that you can't sit on a meditation mat and earn $1 million, but you also can't outmanage a bad mindset. So it's time to shine a light on all areas, and Jess is just the woman to support you to do that. Folks, I know that you're going to absolutely love this show. I really enjoyed talking to Jessica. So knowledgeable. She makes money accessible but also graceful, and she's such an eloquent speaker. She has so much knowledge and wisdom, and she shares some really amazing stories and insights with us. So I know that you're absolutely going to love this show. For all the information on where you can find Jessica, please do be sure to check the show notes. And in the meantime, enjoy. Hello and welcome everybody. Rebecca here. I'm thrilled to have Jessica Giles here from Chic Money. Welcome Jessica.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to be here with you today, Rebecca. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, Jessica. I love everything about what you do. I think you're, every time I've listened to you, like I've caught you on a Facebook Live or I've seen you talking about money, it always captures my attention. And I know that you're very on point, and looking forward to unpacking your own journey. But let's dive in. And one of the questions I really wanted to ask you to start with, because I know you're all about women and wealth creation. So what do you think it means in this day and age to really be in the feminine in terms of making, creating, and holding money?
Yeah, absolutely. Such a great question. And yeah, my whole philosophy and what I operate by is that financially empowered women will save the world, beginning with their own. And that's what I believe and know to be true through my own journey and through the clients that I work with. And so for me, financial empowerment for women is about women creating wealth on their own terms. Women do money very differently to men, and there's a whole subset of emotions and so forth that set them apart. But I'm very much about women creating wealth in a way that works for them. So that's not about adrenal burnout. It's not needing to be bigger than Ben-Hur and have a whole heap of ego attached and work 1 trillion hours. You know, women are the energetic pulse point of their home, of their family. And so I believe in women creating wealth in a way that harnesses their unique power and energy and essence to create and grow that that wealth in a way that serves and supports them, their family, the community, and the world at large.
Wow, that is a big mission, and I love it. I heard that a while ago and it really resonated with me. When women make money, they do really good things with it, right? They'll make sure that that child's had breakfast, or, they'll donate to the kid who doesn't have shoes to wear, or, obviously on bigger levels as well in terms of helping with other things like child sex trafficking. So because we are the emotionally driven aspect, right? We're always thinking from that perspective. That is amazing. I just love that. Obviously, you saw my mouth drop open there. If anybody is listening to the podcast, it's just like, wow, that's incredible, because it's a very clearly defined mission, and I love it. So what do you think when it comes to women specifically in money? And I'm sure you've seen heaps of this in your work, so just draw on whatever comes to mind. What do you think the biggest obstacles for women are to being able to create it for themselves in a way that is unique to them?
For women, it's a daily permission slip. It's a daily permission slip to do it on their own terms, to allow themselves to be successful on their own terms, to unpack, release old family traumas and paradigms and the way we're conditioned by society continuously. So for me, I believe for women to do it on their own terms is all about permission. It's all about permission to forgive themselves, to forgive all of the past money trauma and all the quote unquote bad decisions and regrets they have, and to be clearly defined and know and fully trust that the past does not equal the future. Who you were does not define who you're going to be. And, what got you here won't get you there, and giving yourself permission to transcend, to move forward and let go of the past to allow the future to be greater than what the past and the present has been. And I find women are very emotive in that, and they hold on to a lot of money trauma and stress and conditioning in their bodies, and it manifests in different ways. And one of those ways is absolutely, putting a limit on themselves financially. So I believe that daily permission slip and intention and presence in that area to continually expand into wealth is of critical importance for women.
Yeah, I love the fact that you say it's daily too, because it really is a day-to-day, moment-to-moment practice.
Oh,
and also
yes.
too, taking the attention off the collective and going, what does my version of success look like? I'm sure one of the things that you will have noticed specific to women is, I'm here, but I should be over there. And that keeps on changing, because when they get there, then they need to be over there somewhere else.
Yes, totally.
Yeah,
100%. And that's why I always work with my clients to have their own bespoke, unique vision for financial freedom, because otherwise it's so easy to get pulled into other people's stories and agendas of what that needs to look to be able to give yourself permission to go, this is my version. And, I've worked with women at the same time who one woman's version of financial freedom is traveling the world, swim up bars, private planes, 5-star accommodation. And for another woman, it's traveling the country in, a caravan with her family.
Yes.
And so there's two very different women with a very common goal to be financially free, but a different application of that. And if you don't know where you're going, any road will do. So having that clearly defined vision, if you can't see it, you can't create it. Knowing what you want allows God, source, universe, angels, creator of all that is, and your own infinite intelligence to get behind you to create that. But if you're not clear on that, nobody can help you.
Yes, and I love what you mentioned there, of course, about source energy and the universe helping you, because I'm sure you would have found this as well. A lot of people don't have the clarity. And when we ask them that question, well, what do you want? People often look a little bit like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I don't have now. I just know that I don't what I've got now.
Yeah, so we know what we don't want, but then it's like, okay, well, what do we do want? And that unique version, etc. It really is a relationship with source energy and finding out what it is, what our passions, desires are, etc., to be able to move towards them. So in regards to the implementation, what do you think stops people from choosing it for themselves, going for it for themselves, going, okay, well, if I have got this big juicy dream, what do you think stops people from actually creating or manifesting that?
Yeah, totally. So I I believe it's driving with the handbrake on. So it's like, I want this, but I'm scared to say I want this. I don't want to be judged for wanting this. I'm judging myself for wanting this. I don't want to look at the metrics and the important things that are going to get me toward this. I don't want to do the activities or be the person I need to be to create this. So having the goal is one thing, but they're having the permission and all the other elements and focusing in the areas that are going to create that, to allow yourself to create, are two very different things. So I find for women where they fall over in the implementation, again, every action you take has an energy attached to it. So it's always, the work is always with the mindset and the energy to align that to the goal so as to allow yourself to take the right actions with the right energy attached. But I find generally where we hold ourselves up comes from a lack of belief and a lack of worthiness of creating that for yourself. You know, it's like we almost believe that the dog next door could do it before we could. You know, like that level of self-deprivation or questioning or wondering or doubting, that saying of doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will is very, very true, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. How we can stop ourselves from really going for it. Because I think also too, when you might be able to relate to this yourself, you know, like being in business, you know in your bones that you're ambitious, right? And ambitious too, like often in women's communities can feel like a little bit of a dirty word, right? Like you're so passionate about your vision and what it is that you're doing, and it becomes, you know, like a huge focus in your life and you're so committed and devoted to it. But then other people, you know, it can be really jarring for them to kind of come up against that and kind of go, whoa, you know, like where's that energy coming from? And maybe it's a bit challenging for me to be observing that.
You will trigger people. And that's what I say to my clients. You will trigger people through going after your dreams and goals, and you will highlight to them where they've self-abandoned. And even though they may come at you with their energy, it's very much about them. You know, it always has far more to do with them than it does you. And ultimately, I believe that any woman that is listening to this podcast, any woman that finds their way into a coaching program based around money, intrinsically knows that they are destined for financial freedom. Because if they didn't know that, they wouldn't listen to the podcast, enroll in the program, work with the coach.
Yes.
You simply wouldn't put yourself in that space.
Yeah.
So again, it's like, okay, I know this is meant for me. I'm following that guidance and allowing yourself to realize that it's your own unique journey, and the test of success passed by no one. And so it doesn't mean it's going to be easy per se for you, but it is available for you. I remember a time distinctly when I became a single mum very suddenly, and essentially I lost basically all of my friends at that point. Wow. They pretty well all deserted me. And I really only reflecting on it later realized that the reason that happened was because I triggered them. I was going through one of the hardest times of my life, you know, very challenging, but ultimately that was what was meant for me. And that wasn't a path specifically reserved for me. Anybody can do that. But those people, those friends that I had, I now see weren't, and many of them still aren't, in relationships that are right and fulfilled and their soul's journey. And so I was triggering them because I wasn't in that space anymore, and it just created too much friction for them that it was easier to make me wrong and get rid of me than to address what was going on within themselves.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Myself personally, having been through a divorce and then recognizing like when you're in that space of really needing support, but you're triggering people at the same time, and you're like, oh, this is not what I expected. So, yeah, it's fascinating. So let's reel back a little bit. Like, let's jump in and maybe share with us a little bit about your own kind of money story, even what you remember your first experiences of money as a child moving through. Because I know, you know, if everybody listening, you're a qualified accountant, right? So moving through that journey to make that choice and then maybe end up where you are now. Take us through a little bit of a timeline.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did not come out of the box this way. There was nothing about my life that pointed as this to be my path or trajectory. I grew up, look, I never went without, always had food and clothes and a home and all of that kind of thing. But we grew up with very modest means. There was certainly no, lavish holidays, and, there was nothing like that. And money for me had very much an energy of stress and pressure and never quite enough. And as such, I became a 16-year-old high school dropout. I didn't even finish year 10 at high school, and I got out in the world and was making my own way and creating my own money and so forth. But I always dreamt of more. I always dreamt of having a bigger impact and living a big life. And I worked in a petrol station, and, I used to admire all these people that would come in with suits with their company credit cards. And I was just like, oh, I just want to be doing big things in the world. The funny thing about it, and this is a real key manifestation point that I'm always talking with my community about, even as a 16-year-old high school dropout, I took my then equally bad decision of a boyfriend to university open days with me. And I would sit in the university lectures when they were talking about different programs, and I had no business doing that. I didn't even have year 10 at high school, but I knew that I just needed to put myself in that space and in that environment. And as such, I went to TAFE here in Australia, and I did my Certificate 3-4 diploma and advanced diploma in accounting. I came across my love of accounting through, I hated maths at school, but I did just an intro TAFE course and different things, and I fell in love with accounting. So I saw that all the way through at TAFE. I then used my advanced diploma to get into my accounting degree at university. And I started my accounting degree the week I found out I was pregnant with my first daughter.
Oh, wow.
So I sat exams I submitted assignments the night before giving birth. I sat exams with a screaming newborn outside and leaking breasts, too much information maybe.
Oh, my goodness. I salute you.
I didn't take the normal trajectory or path, and then I had my own bookkeeping and accounting practice subsequent to that. And this was sort of pre-cloud days, people would hand over their shoeboxes of receipts and statements, and I really identified that they were handing over their power. They were scared. They didn't understand. They didn't know any of their numbers. They were literally handing over their power to me. And so I used to give them all the tools and the templates and the spreadsheets and the pretty reports and all of that. And I just knew they weren't doing anything with that. At a similar time, that was when I became a single mum very suddenly overnight. And I always say that brought about what I call my spiritual awakening. And it was through then that I learned about mindset and my money story and manifestation and law of attraction. And I used that to really, I manifested a new house for my daughters and I, and a position in a school that wasn't open. I really started to harness the feminine energy and connection with money and abundance. And so then my bookkeeping and accounting clients became my first sort of coaching guinea pigs, because I was like, hey, I've identified that you're feeling this way about money. Let's look at this. And you're not doing your accounts. And created amazing results and transformation when they harnessed the power and the possibility and potential of the mindset combined with the practical strategies and structures around money. And that was a game changer. It evolved from there, and I just fell in love with the results and transformation in my own life and the clients that I was helping at that time. And you couldn't shut me up about it, and you still can't. I'm just so passionate about financial empowerment, because if it wasn't for financial empowerment, I couldn't have been a single mum, and I wouldn't have been able to grow this business and support my children and have a home for us and education and all of that kind of thing. And so that is what I want for every woman in the world. I want for them to be financially empowered, to be in the relationship or no relationship of their choosing, to be able to educate their children where and how they want to, be able to live their life in alignment with their own truth. So that is 100% what drives me. So although I certainly didn't take the easy easy path or route to get to where I am. I wouldn't change a thing, because it's through that journey and experience that I can bring that depth of support and have that understanding for many of the challenges that women go through. So I'm very grateful for all of it, even the challenging parts.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. What a journey too. Because also too, like you said about the permission slip daily, it's a dance with your own value proposition, isn't it? All the time, just kind of going, actually, noticing when you're giving too much and kind of being aware of the boundary and pulling it back in. But that moment to moment dance of intimacy, really, with your own value proposition. And then I see money just as a side effect of that, really. But that's beautiful too. What a ride. What a ride. Yes,
and it's always evolving, always expanding, but completely agree with what you say. And I always support my clients, you take care of the inputs and the outputs will take care of themselves. And that's all that money is. Money is a byproduct, money is a reflection, money is a mirror of the way that you see yourself in the world. People often think, oh, I've got to fix the money part. Well, actually, no, if you just fix the other parts, the money part will take care of itself.
Yeah, and it's sometimes hard for people to hear that when their, their value is so kind of hooked into the money, or their sense of security and safety is hooked in. It's kind of like they find it difficult to even pull away from that a little bit sometimes and focus on themselves.
I totally respect that. I mean, I've been the single mum wondering how she was going to put food on the table and a roof over her head of her children, and, being fully responsible for them in all ways. And I totally respect that. I know as well that money is directly reflective. You don't get in life what you want, you get what you expect. And you get what you're available for, and you get what your financial thermostat is set to. It was only when I saw that it wasn't about what I was making it about, and so I realized that I was so addicted to struggle for such a long time there. I had been the daughter of a single mum who had struggled, so there's that conditioning, and that had very much become imprinted. And I was also, for a period of time there, I was impacted by a bushfire, and then the separation, and then my daughters lost 2 ponies in tragic circumstances in front of our eyes. So I had kind of become addicted to throw it at me and I'll overcome it.
Right. How are your adrenals doing with that?
Yes, exactly. But I was defining a lot of my worth and being fueled by people being in awe and celebration of how you can have all this stuff happen and still be showing up and still do all of that. So we unfortunately create our own addictions and cruxes in life by the way that we condition ourselves and are conditioned to the world around us, by the world around us. So I have a lot of love and respect and reverence for those who feel that way, because I've been there and I fully understand that. But I also know that what we focus on expands. And if we keep focusing on that, we're going to keep creating that. So I see my role in a lot of the work that I do with my clients is helping them to break those cycles and align to again, that more feminine energy essence way of allowing it to be easy, but still impactful and joyful also.
Yes, and it's amazing how we can, and again, I guess it's not really anybody's fault either. It's just, unfortunately, levels of awareness that we can often continue to choose something that we choose it because it's familiar, even if it means that we're suffering. That process of you're talking about of shifting the accountability piece and kind of going, actually, there is another way, and bringing your attention to that. Yeah, a big workout, can't it? Especially when you're first starting it. It's kind of like,
yes, I love that so much. And I always say that, everyone's doing the best they can with what they have available. So it's not that our parents or family set out to give us these bad conditions or patterns, but it's our responsibility, and when we know better, we do better. So I believe the more we increase our knowledge and our skills and our awareness, the better we can do for ourselves and all future and healing past generations as well. And I see that as a tremendous responsibility, but also an incredible honor.
Yeah, absolutely. And also too, but you're coming from a place of very high levels of accountability. Right. And I know everybody struggles with taking full accountability of what's happening for themselves in their life and their reality. But of course, too, as we know, it's the gateway to freedom. So can you tell us maybe about a personal circumstance or maybe something that you've seen for a client where they've had to go through that gate, they've had to go through that up level and then, shifted from that to, because often too, when we start being aware, things can often shift quite quickly, or people can open up energy and they're like, wow, I didn't think that was possible. Circumstances that you may have seen or experienced, transformations that have occurred, because I know people always find that really inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There are two that come to mind. One is a personal one, and I call it Easter Money Miracles. So at the time I became a single parent, I also invested $25,000 in that I didn't have into a coaching mastermind, in, again, like growing the business and so forth. And it was literally hands down the worst experience of my life. It was terrible. As a result, I carried a lot of shame and guilt about that, because how could I have put my children in that? I was paying off this mastermind and struggling to also, raise children and all of that. And the mastermind had been such a traumatic experience that I didn't feel there was any benefit or value there. So I really was so down on myself. Then there was that added layer of shame of how can I be a money coach when I've made this really bad money decision and I've put my family at jeopardy and at risk. And so I had to do a lot of deep dive work around, healing that and releasing that and accessing my manifesting powers and so forth. And I'm a very big believer in inspired action. And I'm a very big believer in there will always be an angel messenger that will deliver a message to you. And it's our responsibility to act upon that message. And so as I was going through my process with that, I had $7,000 left on that liability for that mastermind. And I had the idea, I was driving to my parents for Easter, and it was my first Easter without my children. So I was, a little bit fragile because they were with their dad, and, firsts are always challenging. And I was driving to my parents' property and got the idea to do a $27 product, to do a $27 flash sale on one of my programs that I had, just a short little program. So it was like an Easter celebration. Instead of binging on chocolate, binge on money mastery. And so I put that at $27 and I put it out there, and I had a few little sales trickle in, and I only had a very small community at that time. And then I experienced this opening where two people that I knew and really respected and admired, they bought that for themselves. Then they really, as soon as they saw it, they're like, wow, this is amazing. My clients and community need that. So they then shared it with their networks. And then before I knew it, my phone was just like ping, 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 ping. Very quickly went from like 3 $27 sales to like 50 $27 sales.
Super.
And I was so clear that every dollar I made that weekend was going to clear that investment that I'd made. So this is another thing when it comes to money. Money loves to have a job to do. Money doesn't just flow for willy-nilly reasons. Like, it loves to have a purpose and a job to do. So I was very clear that every dollar I made was clearing that debt. And as it turned out, at the end of that weekend, I'd had like an $8,000 weekend with this passive income $27 product, and that completely cleared that experience and that debt.
I love that. Awesome. That's so worth celebrating.
Yeah, it was amazing. And the lessons that I really want to highlight from that experience were, you don't always have to feel on top of the world to be able to manifest.
Yes. I listened to one of your podcasts about that, and I was like, oh, I love this. You had a sore throat when you were even doing the podcast, and I was like, oh, I'm going to ask you about that. So please go ahead.
Yeah. So, I was sad. I didn't have my daughters for the first Easter as a single mum. I was alone. I was, and I was okay with that, but I was at a little fragile point, and I was still in my process of healing my forgiveness for self about that money decision and about the shame and guilt of being a money coach and making bad money decisions. So I was in my process, but I wouldn't say I was healed. So you can still quantum leap and create amazing manifestations even when you're not healed or feeling super high vibe on top of the world. As I mentioned, the angel messenger, like I just had the idea whilst driving in the hour-long trip to do that flash sale. So it wasn't a planned out launch or revenue or anything like that. It was just following the inspired nudges, taking the action, being very clear and intentional about how that money was going to be used, but also being open to possibility, such as these other people sharing it and it gaining traction and that kind of thing. So they're really key lessons that everyone can take on board to be in their process, but still expect quantum leaps and transformation, to follow the intuitive nudges, to open up to amazing things happening. And you create the channel for that by being very clear about how that manifestation is going to be used and what the purpose is for the abundance that you're wanting to create.
Yes, because a lot of people I know in manifestation circles, they would be like, oh, how does it work in regards to manifesting for debt? What would you say in response to that? Like it's, people are like, you manifest for something like a trip or a car or a house or, to increase the sales in your business. But for the purpose of debt, it kind of feels a little bit more void.
I think a big part of that is it's easy to manifest things you're excited about.
Yes.
It's easy to manifest money. For me, I really value pretty things. So when I was going through a period in my business where I was launching all these different things, my philosophy was give me a cute logo and a full fun name and I'll do anything. And so I had no trouble manifesting for branding and for photo shoots and for things like that because that was important to me and I was excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
People can't get excited about clearing debt because of the story they have associated with it. Mm-hmm. Or it's become such an integral part of their identity that it's actually going to be more detrimental to them on a subconscious level to be without the debt because that doesn't line up to their identity.
Mm-hmm.
Whilst I do agree that we don't have to feel high vibe about something to manifest it, you do have to be in alignment and actually want to do it.
Yes.
And I believe the follow-on step to that is having a clear plan and identity for who you are on the other side of that debt. Mm-hmm. Because clearing the debt is one thing, but that debt can spring straight back if that's what you're available for. Having that identity for who you are without the debt, I believe is as much of a critical element of manifesting money to pay the debt as paying the debt is, because I believe that what is more tragic than getting what you want, not getting what you want, is getting what you want and not be able to hold on to it.
Yes, that's a whole other container.
So yes. If you aren't going to be able to withstand and maintain that debt cleared level, then it's actually less traumatic for you to keep that debt than it is for you to manifest to clear the debt for it to then come back again. So there can be a whole layer of self-protection there as well.
Yeah, because I'm sure you will agree that the process of creating wealth is really the person that you wish to become, and the evolution and shedding of the old identities to step in. And it always evolves, of course, as you progress in your journey. But getting really comfortable with that, because of course, like you said, sometimes those evolutions, they don't include certain people around you, or they include new people that you're yet to meet, or they include viewing yourself in a completely different way than you did when you were 25. And of course, everybody evolves at different places, etc. Being the person who's prepared to start thinking about what is the end result and what's their level or ability to be able to hold that new identity. I love it, love it, love it, love it. So you said before, because it was one of my questions and I think you answered it already, is what do you know to be true about money, Jessica, from, I guess, accounting and even your work now as a money mentor? What do you know to be true?
The thing that comes through for me now is what I know to be true is your relationship with money is lifelong. Whether you're divorced, married, single, separated, loved up, and through the progressions of all of those, through the progression from early childhood to the last days of your life, money is going to be there. Women put such undue stress and pressure on themselves to have it figured out by lunchtime today. Be in a perpetual state of expansion. One of my favorite sayings is, slow down, I'm in a hurry. By you releasing the pressure to have it all figured out so quickly, and allowing yourself to go, you know what, this is a lifelong relationship. So I'm willing to invest and be present and know that relationships have seasons and phases and stages, and for you to be there for all of it, actually, I find, loosens up the pressure and allows women to transcend and transform faster. So what I believe I know to be true about money is money can be your best friend or your worst enemy, and you get to choose.
Yeah. Wow, that is so succinct and so true. And please do tell us, because I'm just aware that we didn't mention your client story, because I know people will be like, oh, she missed that. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll give you the condensed version of the client story, but really essentially this lady that came to work with me, she was 6 credit cards deep in debt, considering bankruptcy. She had her own business, but she was in a real state. And I identified very quickly that she had been raised by a family who had businesses, but they weren't successful businesses, and they worked incredibly hard for those businesses. So they worked incredibly hard, but still didn't create the success that they desired. Mm-hmm. And so that's what she was living out. She was being the good girl and following the family rules around, I'm going to have a business, I'm going to work really hard, and I'm still not going to be successful. Mm. And so she was a member of my Money Master Academy program. She did the work, and she was open, and she just consistently chose to release that experience, to let her family have their experience, but that she got to create this whole new identity, this whole new way of being, and this whole new way of showing up as a woman who values wealth and who values creating it on her own terms. And she had a desire to buy a home, and that felt so far away when she was in that state of financial distress. And I always said to her, I will hold that vision for you of that home, and I will hold it for you when you can't. And she, I said to her, just hold it lightly. You don't have to know how, because the how is none of our business. You just have to know that that's what you want, and you are worthy of it. And that's what you're continuously moving toward. Fast forward to, I got a message from her only a few months ago. And I think I shared this on my socials if you scroll back a bit, but she shared that she had gone from that, 6 credit cards in debt, on the verge of bankruptcy, to creating a $250,000 house deposit in a year with a pandemic, and the year she gave birth to her first child.
Wow, that's incredible. Wow.
And what I think is so important to share about her story is that she doesn't have a wealthy family or husband, no trust fund, nothing was really pointing her to any kind of great success or backup plan or anything like that. But when a woman is prepared to back herself and let go of everything that has held her back and create new identities and invest in herself in that way, that is what is available for everybody. She has her own business in an industry. She has a hair salon. She's running a business like millions of people are around the world. It's not necessarily what people would consider a highly lucrative in terms of high volatile investments like mining or anything like that. It's just, she's just a really committed business owner and woman who wanted something different for herself and her family.
That is a stunning success story, especially, because I think there's so many elements in there around time as well, because I think a lot of people think, making money takes so much time, and obviously having a child does take time. So yeah, fantastic in regards to, like you said, breaking the cycle, which is incredible. You have a book. Please do tell us about it. It is called Financially Free Forever. I love that.
I do have a book, and I should have a copy to hold up and say, this is my book. You can see, for those who are watching, it is behind me there, but I'm looking all around me, and I actually don't have a copy in hand's reach. But I have published a book, and it is called Financially Free Forever, and it is my 100-day action guide to being financially free forever. And it is the book that I wish I had when I was a 16-year-old high school dropout. It's the book I wish I had when I became a single mum. And it's everything that I would have loved to have been shown and taught, laid out in bite-sized, implementable daily plans and ways. And It's a book, but it's probably more of a journal, because I've taken out every excuse women have as to why they can't transform their money. It doesn't take a long time, literally 10 minutes a day. You don't even need to buy another journal, because it's a built-in journal. Every tool, template, everything you need is in that book. It's pretty. People tell me all the time they have it on their, I invested extra for the gold foil because I wanted it to be a luxe experience. And people tell me all the time that they love it and it's stunning, and they put it on their bedside cupboard at that moment that I regret putting my face on it, because really cringeworthy that I'm staring at everybody. But it's a tremendous honor that to be on somebody's bedside cupboard. Yes, I'm very, very grateful. So I'm very excited to share this work with the world.
So, and you have a little bit of a sequence where people can actually, be supported through some videos initially to start with?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I encourage everybody to go to chicmoney.com.au/sample, which I know you'll give the link to them for, and they can download the first 5 days of the book and also a free companion training series to go with that as well. So you can try before you buy, get some results in advance, and decide if it's for you or not.
That's magic. That's so generous too. Jessica, thank you so much. This has just been incredible. I think, having these conversations is really important. The other conversation that maybe we could swing back around and have a conversation about another day is about, women, money and pleasure with, leaning into greater levels, and, because that's a whole other permission slip often, which goes alongside, creating more wealth and allowing yourself to experience more pleasure. Because is there any point in making or creating the wealth and then not enjoying it? I'm sure you've met people on the journey who have made a lot of wealth, but they still aren't living in the energy of fulfillment. Yeah, to really step into that is, because otherwise, what's the point? We all say we get to the end and we don't want to say that we worked more, but we all say that we want to have enjoyed the journey more. So I think that's a huge part of it.
And receiving, I find for women, that women come to me sometimes and they're like, I want to make $1 million. And I'm like, oh, I love your outfit. Oh, this old thing. And I'm like, if you can't receive a compliment, how are you going to receive $1 million?
Yes. And I would talk to that about, being open in your body to be able to receive that. Because again, all those defense mechanisms that we can have, like you said, this old thing. It's just like, what does it take for us to really celebrate that fabulousness? And love your work. I really admire what you're doing. I love your mission. It's so crystal clear, and I can feel that people are really going to respond to that. So encouraging everybody to go and check out your book so they can work alongside you in regards to creating that. It's such a beautiful journey in regards to really taking people home. I could have another whole conversation with you about money and God as well, or even money and sex. Again, that leads into the pleasure proposition in terms of, women really empowering themselves to create what it is that they want.
Yeah. Oh, totally. We must do that. I always say that as women, we're expected to be good with money and good at sex, and we're not taught either.
So thank goodness people write books for us.
Absolutely. And whilst I don't profess to be an expert in the other area, I can certainly help them to heal the relationship between the two. But it's absolutely, there's just so many patriarchal stories and limitations, and just money and sex and miscarriage and politics are basically taboo topics that we are expected to be really good at, but not supported to be. So, I believe in supporting the whole woman. So I absolutely love the work that you do in the world to help women to really heal that experience as well, because, the business and the wealth can only grow to the extent that the woman does. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And that's, I think that is a beautiful place to end this conversation today. But I do hope that you'll come back and share with us more, because this is such a juicy conversation and really what people need to hear, right? That to give themselves permission to create what it is that they want, and they can be supported in that. And it's not as hard as you think. And, yes, it might involve peeling back some of those layers, but that's totally available to you, and you can be supported in that. I think that's another whole thing, right? Finding a tribe of people who want to see you, like literally down to the cells of their body, they want to see you shine and want to see you successful. And then being in that space, I know from my own experiences, have been really nurturing. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that you provide that with your clients too. So
yeah, absolutely. You know, I often say that strangers on the internet can want better for you than your own family. And so, or people that you're surrounded by.
Yeah.
And it's always such an honor for me to hold that space for a woman to be seen, to be heard, and to connect with herself in that deepest, most powerful way. And a lot of times that's not demonstrated to us. It's not modeled to us. And so I think it's so important that as women, we're able to give that to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And giving to each other, being completely it. So thank you so much for being on the Intuitive Abundance podcast. It has been a pleasure to have you. Thank you for being here, Jessica. Is there anything else that you would like to share with people before we wrap up?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I truly feel like we could still be having this conversation in 5 hours' time. So it's been such a pleasure and such a joy. And I really just want to hold your audience in such reverence to know that, you know, if you have found this podcast and you have got this far through and you are showing up for yourself in this way, you are worthy of, and you are deserving of, and you are meant to have everything that you desire. God, source, angels, whoever does not place a dream or a desire in your heart without you being able to access everything you need to bring that to life. I believe in a loving universe, and loving universes just don't work in that way of setting people up for failure. So you can create everything that you desire. And I encourage you today just to borrow my belief and Rebecca's belief if you need to, and just, keep on moving forward and just be asking each day, what is my next step? Please send to me, allow me to receive. And it's all happening for you, and you are meant for everything that you desire.
Oh, I'm just drinking that in myself. That was delicious. Thank you so much, Jessica. What a blessing to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. All right, folks. We'll look forward to connecting with you again next time. Bye for now. Bye. Thank you for joining the Intuitive Abundance podcast today. If you've enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe and write us a review so we can help other people positively impact their lives. I would really love that. If you're ready to activate the energy of abundance within you, then be sure to go to www.intuitivelifeacademy.com to sign up for our abundance activation process. Until next time, here's to your ever-increasing freedom. All my love. Bye for now.